So if you're a stabilizer yourself, these are tips that you can take to your partner, to your children, to your in-laws. I always say my in-laws because they always make the best stories. Your employees, your coworkers, and say, this is what I need in order to be most effective, most successful, and for us to have the most productive and satisfying relationship. If you are in a relationship with a stabilizer, these are some key things that you want to know and be thinking about in order to make sure that you are meeting the needs of the stabilizer, because again, that ensures that they will have the most satisfying relationship, and you will keep them from moving into their self-protective system. First of all, don't expect them to be more social or more relational than they are. Okay, they have a limit to how much time they can spend interacting with people, and you really have to kind of recognize that and appreciate that. Being clear on expectations, right? And being okay with taking on the role of the leader. Stabilizers follow. That part of the brain is focused on following the orders, following the rules, following the steps, following the plan, right? And so if you're not giving them something to follow and you're looking to them to lead you, you're going to have to make that shift, because you're only going to be frustrated, right? And I know from my own experiences, it can be frustrating even trying to collaborate, because again, they don't necessarily generate options or possibilities. And so you're having to say, here's what I want to do. How do we get there, right? And so it's looking at how you collaborate them, especially with them in the workplace. But even I know we talk about it in our family all the time about just trying to plan a trip. And there are, a couple of us that are going to step in and lead that process, because we can't necessarily, sort of engage in that level of collaborative brainstorming kind of conversation, because that's not what stabilizers do. If you are having to do change and you're trying to introduce change, introduce it in small increments. We talk about socializing it, planting little seeds in order to build up their readiness for it, and really do understanding that change for them destabilizes them, and it absolutely thwarts their need for security. So you cannot say, well, it's not that big a deal, right? But for them, even little changes are a big deal, okay? And don't take their resistance personally. This is especially true in the workplace, because a lot of times when we see folks that are resistant to change, we either make it about them, or we make it about, what have I done wrong that they're not following me, or isn't my idea good enough? But really understanding that for them, it's an emotional need. It's emotional need in the same way, hunger means I need food. Thirst means I need something to drink. The need for security means I have to seek that out no matter what in order for me to feel psychologically safe, right? And so what happens is persistence over resistance, right? So they gain confidence over time, and then you will work them through it. But if you expect them to do leaps, they do everything incrementally in steps. And we always say it's black and white. What do they do? What do they stop doing in order to be able to move them along, okay? Learn to approach your relationships from more of a logical, fact-based approach than leading with emotion, okay? Because if you want, if you really want to get a conversation, have a meaningful conversation with them, coming at it in a way that's emotionally charged, where you're pushing around interpersonal conflict, they're just going to shut down. They're going to shut down, they're going to withdraw, they're going to check out around it, and that's likely to increase how you're feeling and your emotionality, and then it again continues to kind of create that gap. Instead, trying to come at it from a logical, fact-based perspective, focus on what the behavior was, what the impact was, how things could be done differently. And you see how I'm laying it out. Here are the steps, here's the sequence, in order to be able to get them. Come prepared to problem solve with options, and really, really, really working to minimize the emotionality in your approach, okay? Because you're going to get the best result from them, the best conversation, the best move forward. When it comes to habits, rituals, really be clear on your own. They can have a little bit of a tendency to bulldoze. And I'm going to go back just because it's fun telling stories about my stepfather right now. But I remember when I first moved with my kids to Toronto, and we were sort of integrating Christmas time. And he had a number of traditions that we hadn't ever exposed our kids to. And it was interesting. And some of them I thought were absolutely great. And it was a, huge, great addition. But there was this one watching this particular Christmas movie, and it was a part of his tradition. And so we had to do it every single year. And it was probably my least favorite Christmas movie, but I never said anything because he was so adamant around his tradition that it felt like there was no sort of room to negotiate. And it's funny, a couple of years ago, I started saying, we watch something else? And then others were starting to say, yeah, it'd be really good to watch something else. And he was okay with it. But it was a little bit of, having to challenge it because they get so stuck in their particular approach and their particular rituals. It's, again, they want to do the same thing over and over again. They want to have the same experience over and over again. That is what allows them to feel safe and to feel secure. And so if you're in a relationship with a stabilizer, it's just really important to be aware of these couple of things, right? Provide them with clear expectations, introduce change slowly, come after issues from a really logical perspective, you focusing on the facts, and be firm in asserting your own traditions and your own rituals, and working with them in order to negotiate so that you are able to get your needs met, as well as making sure that they're getting their needs met in the process.